On today's Lions Gray Mains podcast, Dan Campbell just made the biggest in-season decision of his coaching career, and it has nothing to do with going forward on fourth down. The reading glasses are on, the play sheet's in his hands, and everything feels different going into Sunday night in Philly. Is this the move that defines this Detroit's Super Bowl run, or did desperation just disguise itself as strategy? We're going to break down what the data actually says, why the defense isn't as broken as you think, and exposing NFC North's biggest fraud. Forward down the field.
Down to the 10, Jameer to the 5, Jameer to the end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions!
Hand off Berry, skirts to the left side, breaks the tackle, and he will take it in, touchdown!
Touchdown Detroit Lions! That's what I'm talking about! It is caught! Touchdown Detroit Lions! Amon-Ra St. Brown! Oh baby, what a play that time! Aiden Hutchinson read that and blew it up! Big time stand by that defense!
Gray Mains family, welcome in once again. It's Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, and let's put our readers on. Let's get all four of us, on the screen here. This is a OCDC special episode. We have our readers on. Dan, what's the play that we're gonna call here tonight? What do you want to call?
I don't know. What do we call?
Yeah, man.
We have we can just call. Let's just call a touchdown play. Just throw it for a touchdown. That's the best thing ever.
Throw to JMO.
Look, let's
throw it
how
to the
about
guy
Texas
that's got
route?
4.2 speed.
Texas route to Jameer Gibbs. Yeah, man.
Morton, what do you think? That's a terrible idea. Throw it over to Gibbs.
We have no fun at all here, ladies and gentlemen. All four of the Gray Mains on the screen tonight, and one reason why we're going to do that, you don't often see the gentleman in the lower left-hand side of the screen. My man Mike Terry is in the house, and we wanted to do this because today marks a special day, and it is Veterans Day, and we wanted to honor our two veterans here on the Gray Mains staff. First of all, U.S. Navy Operations Specialist, First Class Surface Warfare, Mr. Mike Terry. Thank you, sir, for your service. And obviously, we also have, I call him DBC, but I'm going to be, I'm not going to, there's no cornbread, there's no Kool-Aid, there's no Lions optimism. Retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, Dr. Brent Kreider. Thank you for your service, man.
Thank you, Chris.
Gentlemen.
Pleasure, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you for all you do. And anyone who is a veteran, thank you for your service. I wanted to just roll it to you, gentlemen. If you have anything to say, I know it's one of those things where we always say thank you for your service to those who serve, and sometimes people they get Veterans Day mixed up with Memorial Day and what means what and all of that. As veterans who have served this country, what does today mean for you?
Okay, I guess I'll go first.
All right.
It's just a moment to reflect back on the friendships and the camaraderie over the length of our career. Still some of my best friends I keep in touch with on a regular basis, and believe it or not, they're in Ohio. But spent lots of mid-watches with them and lots of Liberty time with them. And it's just, that, and then also the people that came before us and the people that came after us. It's just a good day to sit back and reflect on how how that all came about and who came before us and who came after us. So that's the way I look at it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
DBC.
Mike, I absolutely agree with you. It's the relationships that you forge over the years with people that from all walks of life. The U.S. military truly is a group of men and women who come from all parts of our country, and they come together to form the strongest military in the world. The U.S. Armed Forces are unrivaled in the capabilities that we possess, and it's great to be an American, and it's great to have served our country. So thank you guys for taking a moment to honor all the men and women who have served this great nation. Continue to protect and defend our nation and our ideas and our American values.
If it weren't for those who have served, we wouldn't have, we might not even have this podcast, and that would be just a tragedy. That would be an absolute tragedy. But I joke a little bit, but folks are already joining the show here. Amy says, thank you for your service. Thank you for saying that Amy. We're certainly proud of these guys. Wanda chimes in, hey guys, missed your last podcast, but not on purpose. I'm wondering, do you guys think that the Lions will ever go back to John Morton calling plays for the offense? Wanda, do you somehow sneak into our agendas here, into our outlines? We're going to be talking about
insider information.
That's right.
I think she knows somebody.
Right.
I think it's a great question.
Yes,
regardless of where it came from.
But we wanted to take that moment. We're gonna roll into the show, Wanda. But we wanted to take that moment. Thank you guys for your service. Mike is the guy, ladies and gentlemen, who is just, you'll see his stats pop onto the screen. He corrects us all the time. There's some stuff that we won't put visible to you because we get stuff wrong all the time. And thank God we have somebody back here who is our strategic operations specialist back there that is just knocking us into the lane and keeps the information flowing to you, our audience. So thank you, Mike, for that. And then we'll get going here on this whole thing. Guys, I mean, obviously, Campbell being the guy here who, I mean, we knew something was going on with Morton a little bit. He seemed a little cranky in his the coordinator press conferences. He knew at that point. We found out that Campbell made that call early. To make a change. Feels like Dan Campbell is downplaying the whole move that he made to Morton, saying that Morton is still an important part of this. I did my own research, and Mike may correct me on this, but currently there are about half of the teams have their head coach calling offensive plays. 16 of the 32 plays. When you count now, Dan Campbell doing it, there are 16 teams who have head coaches calling their plays. So this is not like some weird thing, including every team in the NFC North division, their head coach calls plays. So it's not some weird anomaly. So I wanted to roll this to you guys. Dan, Brent, you guys can fight over this one. And it plays into Wanda's question tonight.
Brandon's veteran say, I'll let you go first, my friend.
Yeah. So Brent,
I was going to say, I thought Dan moved to Russia.
Is this thing going to be something? Is this going to be something where, and Campbell intimated that it was certainly possible that could happen. But this is different than 2021 when he basically demoted Anthony Lynn and started calling plays. This is a different situation. They hadn't won a game, and it was bad. It was bad situations. We have a potential Super Bowl team here, and he made this move. And I think it could be a situation where Morton's going to be the guy that's in the booth and kind of overseeing stuff, just not making the calls, and maybe he's leaning on Morton at times during that. How long you think this is going to go on, and you think Morton will be sitting in that seat high above the field for the rest of the season, or are we looking at maybe having him be gone at some point this year?
Well, what comes to mind is I am willing to do anything for you guys. I don't, I dream about this team. I love this team. I am not going to ask you to do anything I wouldn't do myself. And basically the way that the military works is you have these hard conversations with your leadership. You're qualified. You're not qualified. You're capable. You're not capable. And I think Dan Campbell is the type of leader that espouses to give honest feedback to his staff. And I respect the heck out of Dan Campbell for that, because much like, Dan is really quick to give feedback to all of us. Uh, welcome back, Dan. We have a coach in Detroit who is going to do anything to put the Lions in a situation to win football games. And the good news is that Dan Campbell made the hard decision, and he had this hard conversation and said, "Look, I've got this. I'm going to start making the calls." And to Wanda's question and to Chris, brilliant job, by the way, in the OC. Seeing this, it's beautiful because I love the use of the old. I guess I shouldn't say that, but
shouldn't say that
you all might recognize. Yeah. But Dan Campbell calling plays is here to stay. I don't think you see Johnny Morton call.
We're not going to put the toothpaste back in the tube or unscramble the eggs or whatever cliche at this point. Yeah.
Any chance of that? But I'll let Dan jump in on this. I think this is a quick conversation because we have a lot of really important things to cover, both in the game that was just played, but most importantly, for the week ahead.
Yeah, I'm 100% on with what Brent said. He's, I think Morton's not going anywhere, but he's not going to be calling plays, right? I mean, it was night and day. The offense was stagnating underneath him. He was calling the same dumb runs on second down and wasn't, despite saying he's going to get the ball to Jammo, he wasn't getting the ball to Jammo, and it's clear, our two biggest weapons are Jammo's speed, Gibbs' speed, and getting them in space. And he just, when you call against an aggressive pass rush like the Vikings had, the week before, where they're just killing us. I mean, Flores blitzed us at a higher rate than he's blitzed any team this year. It was almost like 60%. And they normally blitz at 40%, which is higher, 38%, right? But he kept calling deep routes. It's like, you got to call something to beat the blitz. Right. And he just wasn't adjusting and being smart about it and using logic. So to Brent's point, Campbell's going to continue to call the plays on offense, I think. And Morton's going to continue to be the coach that implements during the week. And he's there to offer assistance and do other things and maybe it'll help him, allow him to see tendencies from the defense and can give some additional insight from the box to Campbell. But as you said, it's a quick conversation. Campbell as much said he's not giving it up anytime soon. It'll be for the foreseeable future. So until it stops working, it's not going to happen. And frankly, Ben Johnson, we make fun of him because he left us. He is a good play caller, and the fact he was able to take Campbell's offense and earn the trust from Campbell. And for the most part, he had his own tendencies and issues that we all complained about. But for the most part, he was able to sprinkle in, the trick play flair, and he had a knack a lot of times for calling, really good plays that just worked. So until we get that next up and coming young buck, I don't think Campbell gives play calling up again.
All right. So I think if I'm going to bring any concern, and Alex, thank you for joining us once again tonight. We appreciate you. Don't be worried about being late. It's okay. There's a thing called replay. So if the only thing you missed was us putting on our glasses and calling plays. I called the Texas route, and Alex says the meathead calls work. The only thing I would say in terms of concern for me, if I'm going to call, I mean, obviously when you put up that many points, your offense puts up this, that many yards and the second most points of all season, it looks like we should be having a party. But, and Campbell even said that he's going to have to, obviously he's focusing more on this. And so you only have so many, hours in the day. And so his focus is going to be taken off of some other things, right? In defense. So he's going to have to trust that Calvin Shepard is handling things there, and special teams, which I don't feel great about, if I'm being honest. For us, it feels like we give up a long return every week, especially on kickoffs. So he's gonna be focused more on that. But I don't think that concern personally is gonna outweigh, what obviously Campbell showed that he can do with our offense. So I don't know. I mean, I just think we had to cover up. We had to throw the thumbnail with OCDC. We had to come with the glasses today. There's no doubt about it. And the DVOA rankings, I'll roll to you on this, Dan, because I was like, when I saw those DVOA rankings and I saw special teams for the Lions being ranked 12th, that was surprising to me.
It's a Jack Fox ranking.
Yeah, he tipped the scales because Foxy is just kicking bombs, which is beautiful. But the coverage on special teams, the blocked field goals that are happening are just it's. I mean,
well, I'll say this: we can count the incidents on one hand from the last 4 weeks. There's been 5 of them. There's been 2 kicks that are blocked, both because Bates kicked it low, and then there's been 3 instances. One was called back by penalty. Another one should have been called back for a penalty, where there was long returns that happened. That Vikings game, we lost 24-21 or whatever it was. It was super close. That should have been that was a win. That game was winnable, and because of, just the field goal block alone that turned around to a long return and a field goal there, that's the point difference in the game right there. So, it's still 12th overall for special teams DVOA, and mainly it's because we do have good special teams. FIP is one of the best special teams coaches, but it's breakdowns by individuals right now. And, some of it might be the churning of the roster. A lot of the guys that are hitting injured report and on special teams are these linebackers and DBs, and we've had to pull safeties off of special teams because we don't have any bodies. So now you've got other guys out there that maybe aren't quite as fleet of foot that can get down there and create that wall. The Grant Stewart was out last week. He was injured and out. Reynolds wasn't out there because he's nursing a hamstring on kick return, right? So I think some of this might be related to that. It is concerning, and we need to nip it in the bud. But I do have faith in FIP. And I think Bates will get it squared away as well. He's been very good this year. He's missed a couple, but I'm not overly concerned yet. But if it costs us a game, which it basically did against Minnesota, if it costs us another game, then they're going to have a hard chat. And to me, I think it's a hard chat with the players, not with FIP.
Alex says the only thing about special teams I worry about is the returning. How often does Leaf ever go far? So, historically, Khalif has had great. He's just a handful of yards away from owning the Lions' all-time record for punt return yardage, and still is probably, from a punt return perspective, our biggest threat. We're not going to put JMO or I think Amon-Ra is probably put him back there if everybody's hurt. In terms of returns, but Leaf is the guy that's kick return. And I think his backup is Lovett at this point in terms of punt returns. And then I've never been happy with our kick returners, whether it's Sailors or even Reynolds or whoever. Avaki seemed to have a little more juice this past week. But I think the Two-Fan, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you joining. Two-Fan says, with all these successful 4th down conversions this season, does it make it easier to make a wrong decision in the postseason? If it continues to work now, you got to do it later, right? Change my mind. I'm not following. Are you guys following that? Brent, are you following that?
I get what they're saying. It's basically, if you're having success during the regular season and it's coming easy, and a lot of it, let's just say this, we play the toughest schedule in the NFL. If it's not the toughest, it's one of the top 3 hardest schedules in the NFL. And by the time the playoffs run around, the concern is, hey, we're going for it in these games, and if we go for it, it could end our season, and we don't get it. So I get that concern, but I think, again, it goes down to the play caller, right? With Ben Johnson, we had high success, right? Well, with Morton, we were struggling a bit on our 4th downs earlier this year. Do we think that's going to continue with Campbell calling them or not? 2-point conversion, very successful after, thank you, Redskins, for melding down and giving us lots of yards and points and opportunities. But I think with Campbell, I have a lot more faith in the fourth down conversions both now and in the future. So, Brent, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the Lions do have the to this point, because the Lions have still the Eagles, the Packers, the Bears, who are tied for first place right now. So I think it's going to sort itself out, Dan, and end up being, as you said, the Lions will end up with the toughest schedule. But right now they're third with strength of schedule. So the interesting thing about this whole question of who we played and who we're gonna play. If you guys remember early in the season, we didn't do any preseason prognostications. We talked about hey, maybe we'll do it in the future, but we thought the Lions' schedule to this point was going to be murderer's row. The Bengals, the Ravens, the Packers, the Eagles, the Vikings, who were 15-2 last year, and it hasn't turned out that way. We have, by virtue of injuries, we have played, only the third hardest schedule in the league, and so it's gonna continue to be tough. But going back to how our schedule's playing out, the toughest part of our schedule is still to come. Look at what Chris is showing here: the Eagles, the Packers, the Rams, and playing Dallas is a crapshoot.
And all of a sudden the Bears, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth.
Exactly, yeah. But record-wise, Chris,
yeah.
This is a pretty difficult schedule, and ESPN produced an analysis this week, and they said the Lions are not in the top tier of teams favored to win the Super Bowl. They were in the second tier. There were only two teams in that top tier: the Chiefs and Eagles. Shocking, right?
Mm-hmm.
The referees' darlings and the Philadelphia Eagles with the tush push, and so they actually said if the Lions make the playoffs, they become very dangerous. So it's conceivable that the Lions could either win convincingly the rest of their games and put themselves in position. I don't think there's any way the Lions, with their schedule, win the best record or have the best record in the NFC and get the bye. I think we would all agree, based especially on how poorly the Lions played against the Vikings, coming off a bye does not appear to be a real strength of the Detroit Lions. So coming up, we've got Murderers Row of the who is to be played, and as is being displayed here, the Rams have shot up the charts based on the way Matthew Stafford's playing. 4 games in a row,
having an unbelievable
touchdowns.
season.
And we all know Matt Stafford, when he gets hot, man, he can roll with the best of them. And I did see, I don't know if any of you have any information on the injury that Adams suffered. Devontae Adams limped off the field. If he's going to be back, but going to LA after Philly and then Green Bay at home is, 3 out of the next 4 games are going to be challenging for us to win all of those.
Yeah, I think the Rams, kind of felt like maybe they wouldn't be a threat to us, early in the season. To be honest, yeah, they just, and it's incredible how many draft picks they gave up to us, and how they've just been able to, there was a dip there, a little bit of a dip, but not much of one, to be honest. And Stafford kind of kept that together. And it looks like Mike says that Devontae Adams should be playing Sunday per McVay. Alex says he thinks we're going to lose 2 more, Rams and Eagles. And wow, so I mean, it looks to me like we should maybe roll into the Eagles conversation here. It feels like everybody wants to start talking about next week, so we're gonna go there. The chat, we are changing our agenda. How about that? because
I hope we can come back because I'd love to make some observations about what we did in
you'll
Washington
bring us
later.
back. You always do. You always do. Wanda says,
Sprinkle it in.
"Yeah, it's all about the audience, Brent." So we have to give it up for them. So Wanda says, based on how close the Packers and the Eagles game was, the Lions have a chance on the road versus Philly next Sunday night. I'll give you my thoughts because that game was hot garbage. If you are a football fan and you watched that game, I'm sorry, because that was disgusting. Listen, if you're an Eagles fan or you're a Packers fan, you couldn't have loved that game. I mean, you definitely were okay with it. If you're an Eagles fan, you ended up with a W, but you can't really feel great about how your team played. That said, it's week to week. It's every Sunday, right? And so it's going in to play Philly. That is a difficult place to play. It really is. And, but I think the win that we had this past weekend against the Commanders was a great confidence win. I think they absolutely needed that win. They needed that win in a big way to gain the confidence that they needed to go into Philly and do what they can do against the Eagles. I don't have a prediction just yet, but Dan, any thoughts on how you feel like Sunday night's going to go for our Lions?
I mean, it's going to come down to the injury report. Let's be honest. I didn't see too many major issues come out of our game with the Vikings.
The Commanders.
But what's
Commanders.
that? Commanders, excuse me. Yeah, sorry. I'm still in Tennessee. My bad. I didn't see too many major issues come out of it. I did see there was 2 injuries for Philly during the game. I think one of their backup wide receivers, special teams guys, went out, and then Lane Johnson went out. So depends on Lane Johnson. If he's out, that's obviously a big boost for us. The biggest concern we'll have is with Jalen Carter. Line played its best game of the year, and let's be honest, it's one of the reasons they played their best game of the year is the play calling helped the offensive line. When you call good plays that they're good at executing and let guys cook, it makes a difference, So, but Carter's a big boy. He's gonna be hard to move, and we've got some big kids down there. Glasgow's no slouch. He's like 315, right? Ratledge is 315. Awasike, he's 315. I mean, we got some beef there too. So, but we'll see. They have vulnerables. They're vulnerable. They're on like their 5th defensive end, not because of injury, but because they didn't really stock the cupboard properly at the beginning of the year. Opposite, I guess it would be over Decker. So I mean, we'll see what happens there. I think it's going to be a good game. I think we're going to play well going there. It'll be loud. It'll be obnoxious. It's Philly. It is what it is. But I think that you made a great point, Chris. That's or Brent, I don't remember who said it, but it's that Washington game was a very big confidence booster, and you have players now that are confident in the play calling too. I mean, we don't know. We're not in the locker room. We're not around the facility. We don't know what the mood was with Morton and his success. Let's just put it intermittent success, because he called a couple good games, but he called some stinkers. He got into some tendencies, and clearly it was enough for Campbell to say, "Hey, I need to make a change." So I think we're going to be back on track, and I'm hoping we're still the team that can beat anybody. Despite having those 2 good wide receivers, Philly's really not a passing threat. It's about tush push. It's about the running. It's about containing Hurts. It's containing Saquon. He's really not. He's starting to look like a guy that's probably put 600 carries a year on his body over the last 7 years. He's starting to look like a guy beat up, not as explosive as he used to be. So, we'll see. I think it's going to be a good game. It's a litmus test, win or lose. again, it just hardens this team and gets them battle ready for the playoffs where it's going to be a grind. And our roster is set up for the long haul. I made the joke today. We added a tight end, Fursker, to our practice squad. We've got 2 veteran tight ends in our practice squad. You remember last year when I think it was last year, maybe the year before, we had to go out and get Ertz off the street.
Yeah.
2 years
And
ago.
now he's he's Commander's starting tight end essentially, or at least one
Right.
of their tight end too, right? We aren't going to have to do that. We've got the guys already here ready to go. I mean, he's layered the roster with veteran depth everywhere. And on top of that, looking at who's coming back over the next several weeks, you got Frazier coming back to bolster the O-line. You got Rodriguez probably going to play against the Philly. He didn't play this week. Daniel Thomas, absolutely. I mean, he played, right? So he's back. Maddox is back. And then you've got Davenport, Zylstra, DJ Reed, Khalil Dorsey. Those guys are all due back. Their window opened. They're eligible to come off of the reserve list today. Most of them probably won't because they're injured still. But I think Reed comes off soon, and we may see him by Dallas.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
And you made one point there, Dan, that I really want to underline before we roll it over to Brent on this. I think this is a great litmus test for us here at just over the middle point of the season, because if you look at the resume so far of the teams that we've beaten, how many of those teams that we've beaten are really true playoff teams? And then when we did play a team like Kansas City, who's likely going to be in the postseason, we beat the Bucs, and the Bucs will probably be a playoff team. It kind of feels like they will. But I mean, a win against the Browns, a win against the Bengals. We did beat the Bears. The Bears look like a playoff team, but that was early. It seems to now that they're kind of catching on. So now, and beating the Commanders doesn't feel like a great, like it doesn't feel like that was a statement win. If we beat the Eagles, that is a true sort of litmus test on whether or not this team can go far in the postseason, can win games like that. You're going to have to win a game like that if you're going to want to play football in February. So, Brent, I'm going to roll that to you over to you. Your thoughts on the Philly game Sunday night?
Well, the Bears' strength of victory is about 200 and something. the Lions' strength of victory, believe it or not, is 521, I believe. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I'm sure Mike can look it up.
Uh-oh, fraud alert.
But remember, it's going to be it's going to be over 500. You just hit on something that is a misnomer, because I guarantee you the Ravens are going to win the AFC Central. Pittsburgh's not going to win the AFC Central. The Ravens are going to win the AFC Central, and we played them when they had their quarterback and they had their pretty much all their players. They're missing their defensive tackle during that game, but the Lions went into Baltimore and played really, really well. And so I'll take some of these soft wins. The Commanders win. I'll take the Giants, before Thanksgiving Day on Sunday. What I would say is that the Lions have their schedule teed up perfectly for them to be able to make a run against some quality opponent. And my pastor always says to me, iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens
It's a
iron.
proverb,
And
yeah.
Dan Campbell has said it, OCDC, as you put out this week on our advertisement. The Lions are going to be a sharpened team at the end of this, and when you go into the playoffs, having that confidence, you hit on a great point there. Having the confidence to be able to know that you can go anywhere.
That's right.
Drag them out to the deep water and play against anybody and drown them. And so that's the biggest incentive that the Lions got out of the win in Washington. What was brilliant about that was how many times against the Vikings did we see a play action pass when they brought 8 or 9 guys almost every time Washington brought 8 or 9 guys, we threw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost uncanny that the Lions scored on every possession until victory formation. And that is the offense we expected at the start of this year. Remember, we did a poll early in the year. Do the Lions score more points this year than they did last year? And it was split, right? We on our Slack channel chat, which all of you could reach out and join, because we love to talk about the Lions every day. This is not just for us a one day a week
every
thing.
day, every 5 minutes. That thing's yeah.
Well, that's Dan mostly. But in all honesty, the Lions are going to be getting healthy. They're going to have a tough schedule, but we're going to play the Giants. We're going to play the Packers. We're going to play the Cowboys. We're going to play the Rams. We're going to play, and so I think it's set up very nicely for us to be able to play some really good football teams and sharpen that iron in anticipation of making a deep run in the playoffs. So, we absolutely are in a position to where we're going to get healthy. I don't feel bad at all for the teams that are suffering injuries and they're losing football games, and they're saying, "Oh, we've lost players." The Lions were 15-2 last year with a record number of players on the injured list.
Yep.
Right?
Street free agents starting in the playoffs for us.
Right.
I mean,
Yes,
that's
against
get
the
him
Vikings,
off the couch and get him on the
yes.
field. Right. I just want to pause here. We are live on TikTok tonight, and we appreciate you folks watching us over on TikTok. We're seeing Juan Carlos. We're seeing Dealcaster's Unbreakable Beauty. Thanks again. Josh, thank you for joining. It says Treylon Burke's going to be a good flex by playoffs. Trust me. Okay, I trust you. And then Mr. Bleed Green says Eagles are going to stomp you back to reality. Okay. Listen,
I love
hey,
it. Hate mail.
teams have they
That's some
stomped?
good
listen,
stuff.
hey, listen. I don't show up on Eagles podcast and talk smack, but you could do what you want to do. That's cool.
Hey man, we appreciate you jumping on
Yeah.
and giving us some love.
Thank
Hey,
you for contributing to the algorithm. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Alex says wins are wins no matter if they're Ravens or Commanders. We just have to carry it on. We have to look capable against the Eagles. We can't be pushovers. Now, okay. I don't know. I just say win, right? I don't even like, looking capable and losing. Like I just, but we'll take it as is. Mike says the NFL teams with the hardest remaining schedule in 2025: Vikings, Eagles, Giants, Lions, and Bears. And then the NFL teams with the easiest remaining schedule: Saints, Titans, Jets, Bills, and Browns. So the Bills are interesting that they have the easiest remaining schedule, and right now the Bills are
Miami Dolphins.
right now
Sorry,
the
I was
Bills are
coughing.
just it's crazy that the Bills are not the team that we thought they were going to be. But thanks again. And Unbreakable Beauty on TikTok says, I believe with Dan calling plays, we can win against the Eagles. Yeah, that's the confidence, Unbreakable Beauty, that we were talking about earlier. It's important that we bounce back and that we, continue on this thing. But we can't have our confidence broken by losing to an NFC team. That's an important game for us, not just from a record perspective. But if you can beat the Eagles on the road in the middle of the season, that can carry you quite a ways. Guys, Dan, any thoughts?
Division first, right?
Yeah.
Division first, because we're now 1-2 in the division. We've got to beat the Packers, the Vikings, and the Bears. We've got to end up 4-2, because that will inevitably put us in the best position. And then second is the NFC games. Chris, absolutely sorry I interrupted you there, Dan.
No, you're good.
You're all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's it's a tough schedule, but again, at this point, your job is just to get into the playoffs.
That's right.
It didn't do us anything last year to have the overall number one seed. even the extra week of rest didn't help us.
I think
we were playing.
We argue that it hurt us. Yeah, we had our coordinators on job interviews that week off,
and they didn't have focus.
That's
at least
right.
on offense. And that appears to be a theme. How many, again this year, have a week off of the bye? I mean, I don't know. Maybe Mike can look it up. Under Dan Campbell, what's our record after the bye week? Or after, we've only had one playoff where we had a bye, and that's 0-1. But I'm curious, what's the record after a bye week? That seems to be a problem. Maybe they need to change something there.
Yeah, we had that conversation. It's like, what are we doing at the bye week, and what are we doing in the off season where week one we come out flat as well? It's like, let's change that up. I think the week one conversation is months away, right? We don't have to talk about that, and so is the bye week, I guess, as well. But I mean, they just after a bye to come out and lay that egg was disgusting for sure.
And again, it was a winnable game. It was three plays, really one play alone. The blocked field goal, it was a differentiator. But if you look at three main plays, you take any one of those don't happen, and that game is a totally different game. We win that game. You don't give him the field starting position. I mean, McCarthy he's a young buck. He's essentially a rookie, and you gave him confidence, and you opened up their playbook. Instead of making him start inside his 25 or 30, you started him on our 30. It's like they can throw whatever they want. It's not like their roster's devoid of players. They got Pro Bowlers at the wide receiver position, and Hawks, a former Pro Bowler, at tight end. And we gave them the confidence to make good plays and call good plays against us, and we played dumb on defense a few times. Got burned, which we also saw against Washington. Both touchdowns of those tight ends was a miscommunication. It was just bad handoffs by the DBs. So, hopefully getting Reed and Raymond back, and getting Kirby back.
Reed's not going to be back this week, though, right?
Reed won't be back to probably Dallas, which is that's he's early December, so it's going to be likely Dallas. I think his practice window will start this week, is my guess. At some point, based on what I saw on X today, he posted a very happy post, and he was practicing last week. So there you go. Mike just said we're 2-2 after the bye since 2022. So, considering Campbell's record, the rest of his tenure is very good outside of the first 8 games of his tenure here. That's an anomaly. That's something to look into. So,
and that's not counting the playoffs. So if you count last year's playoffs,
really
that's 2-3, right? That makes sense. So Dan, you touched on this, and I know this was a topic this week from you on the Slack channel, is how the defense played Washington. And when you put up 44 points, it's hard to kind of even look at the defense, right? You're just sort of like, wow, look at Jahmyr Gibbs, running 22 miles an hour on the sideline, and look at all this, oh gosh, we're back, and the offensive line, somehow looks great. But there was some coverage, some blown coverages, absolutely, that I think, you better believe Philly is going to be looking at that kind of stuff. And there was a disappearing act on defense. Like, where was Aleem McNeil? Where was Aiden Hutchinson? Who made like one pass breakup where he almost looks like he was going to intercept a screen pass because he made a great read on the screen pass. AQM seemed invisible. I mean, Lopez had an outstanding game. Reeder had an outstanding game. And it just felt like, and for whatever reason, Tyleek is only has like a handful of snaps all of the sudden. So I don't know what's going on there.
That got addressed today. I can explain that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So let's just take these in order really quick, and then I'll give it over to Brent for his thoughts. So there's really 3 topics right now. Tyleek, I'll start with. That's real quick. Campbell said Lopez, DJ Reeder, and Ali McNeil are just outplaying him right now. He's a rookie. He's got some inconsistencies. So the 3 veterans are just taking up the snaps. He's getting snaps here and there as he's learning. Tyleek Williams will absolutely be a stud for us and he will replace DJ Reeder as our starting defensive nose tackle next year. So I'm not worried about that. The other 2 issues are the communication in the back end, and then the issue against the Commanders, the disappearing edges, basically.
Mm-hmm.
McNeil, AQM, and Hutch. They between them, and I think between Hutch with his pass defense, which was the knockdown of that pass he could have picked, and then I think was it Lacey had a half a sack, or I'm sorry, a half of assistant tackle.
Yeah,
that was the extent of our defensive ends contributions on the stat sheet. Now, personally, when you roll a team that bad and you've got a quarterback and everybody's like, oh, Jaden Daniels, that guy's he's a threat with his feet. Guess what? Marcus Mariota is actually a faster. He runs a faster 40 than Daniels.
Yes.
He is more elusive to Daniels, and he's also bigger. He was more of a threat with his feet than Daniels was.
Agree.
And I believe, based on what I saw, it reminded me a little bit of going back to the old wide nine, where our ends were way out there creating.
Did you not say wide nine? Oh, I feel like that needs to be a drinking game. The new
yes,
Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid. Drink to the wide nine, as far as.
Yes, good old Jim. So if you notice a lot of times, especially with Hutch, he was getting way upfield behind the quarterback almost every play. And it didn't matter whether he was inside, outside. And the other side, I'm assuming the same thing is happening. I just didn't really see anything going on there. So while the edges were just basically shut out on the stat sheet, the defensive tackles were just eating. Whether it was Lopez and Reeder both had fantastic games.
Mm-hmm.
Lopez, he had a half a sack he shared with Branch. He had like 5 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, 2 tackle for losses and a couple quarterback hits. There were still pressures out there for those guys on the edges. It's not an official, ESPN stat, whatever, but Hutch and those guys still got pressures. But it was a game where I personally think they changed their defensive philosophy, and that's why those guys were out of it. They were not trying to. I mean, they were trying, but they were more focused on creating that pocket and keeping Mariota in the pocket and making him throw, because let's face it, he's just not a good passer.
This is similar kind of the way they played Caleb Williams, kind of the way they played Lamar as well. It's like you can't be flying around, leaving your feet, jumping and diving at that quarterback, or he's just going to run for 35 yards and just break your back.
Yeah. So that's my opinion on the first thing. Now, the second issue, the communication, both touchdown passes was a handoff that just didn't happen. Guys were wide open because there was a mix-up there. And again, you've got, even though Daniel Thomas was back, guy hasn't played in weeks, and
Maddox was in as well at times.
Maddox was in, Mollett was in. Mollett made one play. Mollett's like a 50-50 guy. He's either going to make an outstanding play or he's going to give up a big play. So, but yeah, the handoff issue they need to get fixed. But I mean, think about where we're at, and you touched on this earlier, Brett. This is like last year's playoffs. We're down to like dudes that are like 6th, 7th, 8th on our DB roster getting meaningful minutes right now. But reinforcements are coming. Guys that understand the defense have played in it, and not guys that we had to sign off our practice squad or elevate to get in there. So, again, we just need to make the playoffs. I think we beat Philly, honestly.
Okay.
I just think we have more firepower. I think we're better offense than them. I think our defense is actually better than Philly's.
Interesting.
But again, you're going to Philly. It's at night.
Yep.
Who knows what crew we get. Clearly we've been breaking the historical patterns of the crews the last couple, at least 2 of the last 3 weeks. So that's where I'm at on it. I'm not concerned yet, but I think a lot of it gets solved as we get more of our regulars back in the lineup.
I think
Brent,
you touched on one thing here, and I'll roll it over to Brent, is that, you touched on these guys that are coming in because we have the injuries. Reed comes to mind, Terrion going out, with a concussion in the middle of the game, and we're hoping that he'll be back, and obviously the Legion of Whom game that we played against the Bucks. And so I think what can't be understated, Dan, is that these guys are getting the reps. They're getting the reps, regular season reps, and yes, they're making the mistakes with handoffs like you're talking, in a game where you're up by 3 touchdowns. but they're learning from it. And so if we do need Devontae Maddox and we do need Mollett and we need all of these guys, Whiteside, and we're in the playoffs against God knows, who, they've had the experience, and it's not like we're pulling Jamal Adams off the couch to play in a playoff game like we did last year. So I think that's why I kind of remain optimistic. Like you said, these guys are coming back, but we're still going to be dealing with injuries, guys. Every team's dealing with injuries, but we've got guys in reserves that have reps that I feel, a little more confident about. Brent, your thoughts, man?
Wow, we covered a lot. So back on the point you guys made about the playoffs and just getting in, I looked up how many teams have won the Super Bowl since 2000. There's been 5 teams that were wild card teams that won the Super Bowl. Four other teams made it to the Super Bowl, and I think that's to the point Dan made. Just get to the race, right? Just get to the Daytona 500, and anything can happen. And so moving from the conversation about making the playoffs to the defense, you guys were talking a lot about the secondary and how we're going to get more healthy. I think it's important that we get a lot of these guys back before that stretch run to start to play together, because the secondary is like an orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
You really need everybody out there learning to work together and to attack offenses. I think Brian Branch played a little tentative his first game back. I think this game he's kind of getting back to himself. The psyche of what happened and how he was made out to be a monster.
He
because
smoked some dude in the middle of the field, and it was a clean hit. He just
Yep.
drilled that guy.
And wouldn't it be great to actually have our all NFL safety next to him?
Yeah, we went this whole show without talking about Kirby. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kirby's gonna be starting to heal up, I think. Frankly, I think they're taking the conservative approach here with him.
Yeah, he'd be playing if it were the playoffs. He'd be in. Yeah,
I think that's absolutely the case. So getting DJ back, Terrion Arnold, as Mike posted, has some potential concussion, post-concussion issues to deal with here. And I really don't care if we squeak by in some of these games and just make it to the playoffs, because getting those 4 guys back the way that they can play will allow for us to be able to do the things schematically that we need to be able to do. And look, all these backup players are getting better. They played fantastic against Tampa. They're getting game experience in big games. And so, the good news is we're going to get healthy. The even better news is our depth is developing. And frankly, the reason the Lions are going to win a lot of games is not going to be because of our defense. It is going to be the fact that they can light it up on the scoreboard. And you guys talked earlier about how the game was, Chris, I can't remember what you called it. It was a travesty of a football game. One of the most boring games I've ever seen, 10-7. But I will say this: they both have good defenses. The Packers and the Eagles both have good defenses. I'm not worried about the Lions' ability to score this week. I think as we start to look forward to the game here and do our prognostications on who we think is going to win, I think the Lions are going to be up for the challenge. And just like when we went into Baltimore, just like every other game where they've gotten up for big games, they know this is a big game. They know the whole world is watching, and so they're going to be very motivated to go into Philly and be competitive. So the long and short of it is Lions win this week, and that sets the table for us to be able to be in a position to at a minimum be lined up for a wild card. Because once you get to 7-8 wins, win against Philly, win against the Giants, you're suddenly only needing, 2 or 3 wins down the stretch playing Pittsburgh and in the division game. So I'm excited about where we sit today. I think the Lions are in a great position. I'd like to have 2-1 in the division, just to win any tiebreaker. But the way we beat the Bears and the way we're going to beat the Packers, I think on Thanksgiving, lines us up to have tiebreaker advantages if we end up 4-2, and the other teams that we're tied with are close to 4-2 in the division.
Yeah, it really feels like that Thanksgiving game is just going to be massive. And unfortunately, as great as this team has been in the last 3 seasons, not so great on Thanksgiving, which is, you would think we'd be better since we do it every year. But maybe this plays into, the bye week conversation or something that we had. There's just like anytime you go off schedule in terms of games for whatever reason, the team comes out flat. So we don't always play there. But that Packers game is absolutely massive. And you see what happened last night. I don't know what kind of team Green Bay is. I'll be honest. I don't know what kind of team they are. I don't. I feel like at some point, the talent that they have, and certainly they absolutely smoked us. But in week 1, but how much of that had to do with us, being ill prepared, and obviously our offensive coordinator, who's now not calling plays, maybe that had a lot to do with it. As well.
A lot to do with it.
And so I just have a feeling like that is just such a massive game that, we, in terms of the division, all of a sudden the Bears look like a team. We've beaten them once, but Vikings don't look as much of a threat, but we didn't do what we needed to do against them. Yeah, we got to win, to your point. So guys, like, I haven't looked at the spread. I don't even know what the spread is.
2.5.
It's Philly minus 2.5 for Sunday night, and the over under is 46.5. So and Mike with the stats, my man, Mike backstage with the stats. 1-2 on Thanksgiving in the MCDC era. 1-2.
OCDC.
OCDC,
Yeah.
right.
Hey, there's another question I wanted to ask you guys. Did you guys notice how Saquon Barkley was tackled maybe 4 or 5 times in the backfield? One on just a simple handoff running right, he gets tackled 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Another one, he takes the handoff, gets tackled immediately. There were a couple other times where he takes the handoff and was dodging players immediately. I feel like that's going to be a big part of this game on Sunday night. We talked a lot about our secondary, but from an Eagles perspective now, talking about our front 7, do we stop Saquon Barkley, or is he going to be able to run the ball like we've talked about teams being able to run the ball at 3.7 a clip, not counting the Commanders game, of course, but I am really thinking that that's one of the 2 keys to the game that I wanted to bring up with you, Chris and Dan.
I can tell you right now, their pass defense, they don't give up a lot of touchdowns. They've given up the least amount with Denver for passing touchdowns. Now their rushing defense, they've given up the 6th most, 11, which is in our wheelhouse. They've also given up. Let me see. They average.
That was the second key of the game I wanted to bring up, by the way.
Yeah.
Because I brought up Philly's ability to run the ball. I think the Lions are going to be able to run the ball very, very well this week. I think that's going to be
119 yards a game they give up on average rushing. So it's definitely doable.
Yeah, and to that point, it's clear to me now that Jameer is 1A and 1B. There is no doubt that the Lions have put him, the Ferrari, into the limelight, and Monty had a lot of runs in scrap time, as we'll call it. He was out there running the ball in the 4th quarter, almost every down. That wasn't a pass. And so I think it's clear now that Gibbs is 1A and 1B. There is no
Yeah. I think
Sonic and Knuckles.
I think they're, and Mike brings this up as well. I think we can't tip our hand with these guys. That's the other thing I think that we do is, there's so much analysis that goes on from other teams when they're scouting you and they're putting together game plans. And, if Gibbs is in the backfield, how many plays are this? And if Demo's in the backfield, if they're both in the backfield, which we saw at times, I think a lot of that chess match is something that Johnny Moe wasn't doing. Right, I think it was that he was tipping the hand there, where it was like that's what you saw with the Vikings. It's like, oh, Gibbs is in the backfield, we're going to send two guys right through the middle, and there was, and then for whatever reason, there was no adjustments, and so I think that's the difference that we're seeing. I think Dan, you were the Saquon thing, right? Obviously, he's still a guy that can bust it, wide open. Like you have to stop that guy. But it always seems like every time I'm watching an Eagles game, I'm seeing a long pass to Devontae Smith. It feels like AJ Brown can still play. He's as much drama there is around that player. Sometimes I feel like they don't care. They don't care about the drama. They don't care about the drama with Carter or any of that kind of stuff. They just want those guys to perform on the field. So I think what we've got to be ready for is Jalen Hurts can run the ball. He's not as fleet as foot as Mariota, and not super elusive, but he's like a running back who can chuck the ball for 70 yards as well. So. While they didn't look like they were world beaters the other night, I still think that offense at any point in time, Saquon can take it to the house, and so I am a little worried about that. If our rushing defense that we showed up against the Vikings shows up against the Eagles, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. We're going to be in a shootout, I think. Any thoughts on the run game?
Yeah, Saquon's washed. I'm just gonna say it.
Tell us how you really feel, man.
He's had one game this year. He had one game this year against the Giants where he had 150 yards and he averaged 10.7 yards attempt. Exactly. Against the Packers, 2.7 yards attempt. Against Minnesota, 2.4 yards per attempt. He had 4.8 against the Giants in the other game. He had 5.0, but he only had 6 carries against Denver. He was 2.3 against Tampa. He was 2.6 against the Rams. He was 4.0 against Kansas City and 3.3 against Dallas. The dude is washed. He is out of tread on those tires, in my opinion. And I think we will.
A lot.
I think we will look at his carries. I mean, he's only averaging maybe about, looking at his thing, he's probably averaging maybe 16 carries a game right now. That is so below his normal average. I mean, he averages, the year before he had 345 carries in 2024 when he had 2,000 yards. But he averaged, I think he averaged 5.8 yards a carry. He's only averaging 3.9 yards a carry this year. So not good. I mean, I think they've run the tread off him. And they did the same thing to Swift. The year Swift was there, he had a great year. The next year he sucked, and they got rid of him. And now he's sucking for Chicago. So I'm not, he may pop one here or there. I think we're going to be able to contain him. Our linebackers are good enough to not only get there, but also tackle him, and our safeties and our corner support. And that's the big difference. Now, Hurts, on the other hand, he's the one that scares me because he's basically an oversized running back playing quarterback.
Yep.
He could get out, but if we run the same style of defense we ran against, I think you mentioned it, Brent, Caleb and Mariota yet last week, and who was the other one we did it against? Mayfield, and who else?
Jackson.
The Ravens against the Ravens,
Lamar.
And the Ravens against Lamar Jackson. So we've done pretty well containing these normally fleet of foot quarterbacks and keeping their, the damage from their feet to a minimum. And that's key because then you make them pass. Out of that batch of guys we just talked about, Mayfield and Jackson are capable throwers, right? They've made themselves capable throwers. Hurts, he's inconsistent. So, you got to keep these guys contained, the wide receivers. You just got to stay with them. They're not the biggest dudes, at least the Slim Reaper isn't, so
Yeah, well,
and if we get Kirby back, that would be extremely helpful to get someone there that knows this, that can come up. But Branch and Hurts are going to become acquainted, I feel like, in this game.
Well, the key here is I'm not going to go so far as to say he's washed. Simply, I think the reason I brought this up is I see the offensive line not what they were last year. And Super Bowl winning teams go through these types of growing pains after they win a Super Bowl often. And look at Kansas City. They won, what was it, 12 games last year by one possession. And everybody was talking about how they were done. They were washed. They went to the Super Bowl. This year, they're these last few weeks, they've been playing really, really well. The key to this game is going to be us stopping the run. And as Chris alluded to, AJ getting deep and I mean they threw the ball deep a couple times last night. The touchdown, the deep touchdown pass there that ultimately was the game winner. They're going to throw the ball deep. So do your safeties have to respect that deep throw? And are you looking at tackling the quarterback 8, 10, 12 yards down the field when he breaks it out? Those I think are going to be the things that we're going to have to watch for that are going to ultimately decide this game. And our ability to run the football, because they're going to commit to stopping Gibbs probably. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up, because there's a million things to talk about here, is our defensive ends have to get pressure and contain him as much as possible. That there were people saying, "Where's Hutch?" And there's even people on our channel, Jeremy, saying, "Can I ask where's Hutch? Where's our?"
I was right with him. And where's Aleem? Right? We were asking
Aleem?
that. Yeah.
And what are the Lions known for? After a poor performance by their defensive front, they rebound. So I fully expect this week for that defensive front to play a really good football game. And so, those I think are the main points that I wanted to make about this week's matchup against the Eagles. The crowd's going to be loud. If we had the diversity of play calling like we had last week, I feel really good about our ability to move the football. And the Eagles got a very, very good secondary. Very good secondary.
Yep. Good. Quinyon Mitchell is an absolutely great DB, and yeah, I think seeing what we did, this against the Commanders. I think as Lions fans who are watching and listening. And don't forget to subscribe. I never remember to say that. But folks, if you're watching at this point or listening at this point, please hit that subscribe button. But what we did against the Commanders, you have to remember that was the Commanders' defense, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to be able to do that. Likely again. I mean, the Commanders are statistically one of the worst defenses going right now in the NFL. So. That's what we should have done, and so it'd be Cooper DeJean. Yeah, thanks for that as well. Like they've got a great and Quinyon as well. Alex, yes. We have to remember that this could be more of a grinder, right? And it could be just a different way of. And this is what I'm talking about with confidence. We have to go into a hostile environment. In probably very cold weather, it's going to feel like a playoff game, and that team's got to be ready to win in that kind of situation. And sometimes that win may be 17-11, or something. That just sounds disgusting even saying that out loud. But you got to win games like that, and the Eagles didn't look good, winning against the Packers. but they got a W, and that's what they're saying in their mind, and they got to play better. They can't treat it like it was a loss. They have to look at it and say, we won, and now we're going to play another team who's coming into our house, and they're going to be hungry for a victory, and we got to be able to take that confidence that we had and win the game. So there you go.
Yes, you mentioned the weather. I just looked it up. Warmest day of the next 10 days is next Sunday, 62, high of 62.
How about that?
Overnight, a low of 44 at 3 o'clock in the morning. So we're talking about 50 degrees. The issue is 55% chance of rain. I see the game playing out a little bit differently. If there's no rain, if it rains early in the morning or overnight, Saturday night, Sunday morning. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, Mike, man, I love it. Johnny on the spot. Mike's always in the
high winds as well for those who are just listening.
But I think that the Lions and look, Jared Goff loves the challenge of how's that for being able to play in cold weather?
Love Goff.
How's that for being able to play in cold, windy conditions and rain or snow? I think the Lions score more points than what you're thinking they might score.
Okay.
I
just said I haven't made my prediction yet, but I'm just saying don't be surprised if it's more of a grinder. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Tough defense. It'll be a great football game. And thank God it's not on ABC or ESPN, because Disney, get it done with YouTube TV, please. For the, they did me a favor. I wasn't able to watch play-by-play last night for Monday Night Football because that game was absolutely disgusting. From all indications.
That's disgusting.
Yes.
I couldn't remember what you said.
Yes.
Disgusting.
Yeah. So, but the game will be on NBC on Sunday night, 8:20 Eastern. Yes. And thank you, Duncan, for joining us as well. And kicking and passing gremlins in the wind. Okay. Yeah. And Alex says, I'm not confident due to it being in Philly, different ball game in Detroit. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm confident, but I don't feel, I think these guys are going to play scared, right? These Philly fans aren't going to throw batteries at the players when they come out of the tunnel, right? And these players will be ready. This is going to feel like this is going to be playoff atmosphere, and NBC will hype it up as two of the top teams in the NFC, which is that's not wrong, and we could very well see this team again in the playoffs. And we might very well play in the same location, right? When you start looking at these records. So who knows?
And who they have to play, right?
Yeah.
The Eagles are playing again the Giants, the Cowboys, the Commanders, and we're playing the Packers and the Bears and the Vikings. I think there's a much more difficult schedule ahead for the Lions than the Eagles the rest of the way. But I think that Jared Goff and the Lions proved last year they were undefeated on the road. Remember, their losses were all at home. I think this is a team that embraces the challenge of going on the road and embraces the challenge of winning football games in tough environments. Winning every game on the road last year should be a clear indication of the mental fortitude of this team, and so I'm of the opinion that we're going to go in there and play a very good football game, and I think it's going to look a lot like the Chiefs game in terms of we are going to have to score. I think, and so there was one or two possessions that ultimately tilted the game in Kansas City to the Chiefs. I think with OCDC calling the plays, Chris, I think you're going to see the Lions play a much better game than what they played in KC and be able to move the football.
Yeah, really quick. Let me me give you something here. Yes, the Philly defense is good. But I think that Philly defense is a bit of smoke and mirrors, right? So their DBs are exceptional, and their completion percentage is third in the NFL at 58.9%. But let me throw a few stats at them that play right into our hands that don't necessarily play into the hands of the teams they've already played, right? So they are bottom third in sacks. They only have 19 on the year. We are number 4 with 30. They are bottom third in the tackles for loss. They have 37. That's 28th in the NFL. They are bottom third in, let me see here, the pressure rate in quarterback hits. Quarterback hits are actually a little higher. They're middle of the pack. But they're basically bottom third in pretty much every rushing or every passing defensive stat from a pass rush perspective. And here's the cool part. This is the part I really like. Guess what their blitz percentage is? It is 19.6%.
That's
That
high.
is
Wow.
that is like no, that is low.
No, for
They
them.
only blitz 19% of the time.
Remember
The
last year,
Vikings
though?
blitz 42.2% of the time. So my point is this plays in the Lions' hands. Goff doesn't need to be they trust their corners, so they don't need to blitz. Well, guess what? When your quarterback knockdowns are bottom third and your sacks, you only have 19 sacks on the year. We are, like I said, we have 30. Your pressures, you only have 61 on the year. The Broncos have 111. Your pressure rate is abysmal. It's 17.6%. The Lions, we bitch about them. They're at 25.2. Their missed tackles is not bad. They're top 5 or top 10 in the league there. But the point is yes, they've got these corners that are good. Yes, they put them on an island. Guess what? Everything that they are struggling with plays into the strengths of our offense if we unleash them properly. With Dan Campbell calling the plays, I think that happens. You throw that in there with the fact they give up 120 yards of rushing every game, um, and they've given up a lot of rushing touchdowns. I think this is a game ripe for using our weapons to pick them apart wherever they're vulnerable, and Campbell, unlike Morton, I think is quick enough to see it and make the adjustments on the fly. If, not call, let's throw this stupid screen out to the wide receiver with 8 guys out there getting ready to swarm him, So I think this Philly defense has been, even with the addition of Jaden Phillips, who they got, he played against the Packers. He had some tackles, but he really wasn't a factor in the pass rush game.
Jalen Phillips? He absolutely was.
He was.
He did not have a sack. I'm looking at his stats right now.
Yeah, he put a lot of pressure on.
6 tackles, no sacks. He did have 1
He was
STF.
a factor.
He was a factor.
He had 1 fumble recovery.
And remember how strong the front was for the Eagles last year? They didn't have to blitz. Their percentage is up.
Understood.
From where they were.
But their sucks. They are way down. They're not getting pressures. They're not getting sacks. They're not getting knockdowns.
That plays into my point.
That's what I'm saying is
you're making my case.
Yeah,
right?
their defense is not what it was last year.
Yep.
And I think the big thing is Brandon Graham sitting at home. Or was he? Did they re-sign him? Didn't he come out of retirement? Yeah. He's still 34 or whatever. He's not the same guy. He's been sitting at home doing nothing. So maybe he gives him a pop. I don't know. I just think they're ripe to be exploited. They're just it's a little bit of a fallacy, kind of like the Bears record.
Yeah, and I really do believe that is exactly why, Dan, I was saying that Jared Goff is gonna be able to move the football. We're gonna be able to run against this defense, and we're gonna have a higher score than what some may think, even with the win.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the teams that they played this year, the Vikings put 22 on them, the Giants put 34 on them. The first time that they played them, Broncos scored 21, Bucks scored 25, Rams 26 points. The only team that I think really underperformed was the Chiefs, 17 against them early in the season. Cowboys scored 20 points against them.
Packers.
Obviously, the Packers last night only 7.
7.
May have been more about
Packers
Packers
without a lot of weapons too.
May have been more about Green Bay. So that definitely has me feeling a little bit. And it looks like Jalen Phillips had a forced fumble and a fumble recovery and a couple of quarterback hits and some tackles. So maybe I'm reading Eagles propaganda that he's the second coming of Lawrence Taylor. But
well, he gets to go up against Mr. Penei Sewell this week. And I think Penei's gonna. Well, he lines up a lot on the left side. He did last night in the game. I noticed because I did, like Chris pointed out. I watched him specifically because I think he's a guy that can be disruptive. He may not be what he once was in terms of his ability to put pressure on the quarterback, but he was definitely a factor. And so he's going to line up opposite Penei, and we'll find out what he's got left in the tank this week.
That's right. All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us here on all the tubes, TikTok and YouTube and Facebook, and all the folks that have joined us tonight. If you have yet to subscribe, please do from whatever platform that you're enjoying the show on. We mostly do stuff on YouTube, but we also have an audio podcast. We take this, and so if you do miss the live stream on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. typically, we do repurpose the show into an audio podcast, and you can enjoy that in your earballs whenever you want that. So that's it for tonight for the Detroit Lions Gray Mains.
Happy Veterans Day one more time.
Happy Veterans Day. Thank you.
To my brother, Sergeant First Class, retired, John Ashford, Jay Beasy, we love you, and thanks for your service to this great country, and go Lions.
Go Lions.
Go Lions.
Busted outside left. Jameer down to the 10. Jameer to the 5. Jameer to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
And off Berry. Skirts to the left side. Breaks the tackle. And he will take it in.